Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thanks for stopping by again. This is my third time around getting this video together and trying to give you enough information to understand what's going on without overwhelming you. So anyhow, one thing I want to mention, in case you're not aware, if you have trouble sometimes hearing me, if you go down to the lower right corner and click on CC, that's closed caption, you can read what I'm saying. Now it's Google's best, or their best attempt, YouTube's best attempt to try to translate what I'm saying into words, but they do a pretty darn good job of it. So that can be helpful. A second item that people sometimes forget, even I do, is that you can stop this video at any point. So if you're looking at a chart and I don't stay in it long enough for you to get it, just go back to it and stop the video and look as long as you like. So, okay, moving along here. A couple months ago, I presented some information to you regarding Colombians coming into Panama, and saying that the numbers were increasing. I follow a lot of nations in this regard, just to see, because sometimes you get a clue that something's underway, and this seemed to be that way. And I'm going to show you what I shared with you 2 months ago in a video, and then I'm going to show you what is the video at the end of June, and now, or statistics at the end of June, and then I want to show you what the statistics were as of the end of August last month. So we have 2 additional months, and this has led me to this particular video. So with that in mind, the first one I will put up here is the one through June, and it showed the average monthly visitors. If you look down at the bottom, you see from 2010 to 2018, that whole long period of many years, the ran between 250 and 280, 300, say 250 to 300 a month. This is an average, and it's a month, so you have to multiply it by 12 each year to get the total. But anyhow, in 2019, which is the last full year in advance of the pandemic, then okay, you find it's a perfectly ordinary year. It drops a little in 2020 and 2021. It goes back to what would be considered normal, and then bang, in 2022 it rises to a higher level than normal. It's not completely unknown in the past for the Colombians to get up toward this total. So I'm watching it. I'm watching it now. I'm very interested in it, but it hasn't impressed me yet. And then finally, at the end of the first 6 months of this year, 2023, that's just the average for the first 6 months. We're over 760 at that stage. Now we're talking about something closer to 3 times the average month in the past. This means it's something exceptional. That's all there is to it. Now, if I took that, and I did take that, and I showed also with you what was happening on a month-to-month basis through that year, through this year, 2023, to June, and that's this chart here. Now you can see it's pretty steady, and then suddenly it pops 990 here at the end, and that is what got me up, so to speak. I said, okay, I've got to say something about this, and I brought it to your attention, and I said that I didn't know it was going to continue, but it was clearly a well above the average, and it could mean that we were going to go up as high as 10,000, 11,000 maybe for the year. Well, all right, we'll see what happens. Indeed we did. So now I'm going to show you with 2 months added, the first 2010 to the current chart. Here we go. Now here you see a sudden and rather dramatic change. I mean, the only one that changes, of course, is 2023, because the others are finished. And it's now over 1,000. That's pretty impressive. And I thought, wow, okay. Now take a look at it on a month-to-month basis through August of this year. And there we go. Now that is really impressive. That pop of over 1,600 in a month of August by itself that brought me to a halt. I thought, wow, that's truly impressive, and it is. And it clearly indicates that there are something underway. It's very definitely underway, okay? And it's from Colombia. And we know they're having difficulties over there politically, economically, and so forth. I won't go into details. It's their situation. But it's not comfortable. And a number of people are here. Some of them will be moving here. Others will be investing here. But they are headed in this direction, and they're spending money. And probably, if they're going to spend the money on an investment here, if they don't already have one, they're going to get a visa, a residency visa. So it's going to show up in residency visas, which is what this statistic is all about. So it's not just airport arrivals or something of that sort. It is the real thing, people coming and getting residency visas. They never were on the friendly nations list, so as a result, that has never had any impact on it. This is an investment situation for Colombians. Now, this number is outstanding and just really critical to my acceptance of it. So to come back to it as I'm doing now and to suggest this is something really significant. I will also add, well, in the initial video, a couple of months ago, I made mention of the fact that at least in one case, a person with a lot of background in this and who really deals with upper income people made the point that some 500 properties have been sold in the first 3 months of the year, and they were very likely high income or high expensive properties, given who was doing the talking. This is their specialty. So here we are, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's fine, but this is way outside of most of you and what it is you're interested in if you're interested in buying. Okay. Basically, because we were talking, well, I say the 400,000 and up crowd. Others will say the $1 million and up, but I say the 400K and up are people who are well above average in terms of what people expect to spend when they come. And when I did a few years ago a survey of people at Retirement Wave, I found that 8% of them were actually expecting to pay at least $400,000 or more. And that was quite a surprise. Okay? I hadn't realized that the numbers were that large. But it's like everything else. I have people from every imaginable income level, and every one of you is important to me. So I don't care what you bring to spend, as long as you've got enough to find something that's going to meet your needs, and that's the challenge at the lower end. But not, well, we work things out. We do what we can, everything we possibly can, and we're happy to do it regardless of who you are. Okay, now, what else did we have to say? Well, this time around, just this last weekend, a gentleman from think of it as a think tank, or it's a consulting firm, or something along these lines. It's a very serious crowd. They're well respected here. They're called Indesa, and they are well thought of. Okay, so what they say is listen to. Remember, this is not a market where you have actual statistics available to you. In the sense that you do if you live in the U.S. or in Canada, where you have a multiple listing service and where you've got Zillow and Tulia and all these various websites that provide massive numbers of real estate properties all over the country. Down here, we don't have that. Okay, so we have to work on the basis of what we get. And what this gentleman was coming forward, and he was being much more specific. He was talking about the three, well, he talked about several groups, but he talked about the three biggest groups. And I'm going to tell you the one piece, it's a long story, a long article. But anyhow, I will put it up here. Okay. And he talks about the neighborhoods that people of different nationalities, expatriate nationalities, are actually buying. And he says the third largest group, which is the Americans, they chose Casco Viejo and some luxury, this is his wording, some luxury segments in Punta Pacifica, Costa del Este, and Santa Maria. Oh, all right. Now, these are expensive areas. There's no question about it. And that was our experience too. We were recognizing that although we found good deals and we worked, you have to work on it at that level. Those have been much firmer prices than is true further down the market. That's just the way it is. So it's not that Americans aren't coming down, but the ones who are coming down have more money than normally is brought down by Americans to spend on real estate, at least during this period now. Okay. Now, the next group he talks about are the Venezuelans, who are the next largest, or the second largest group. And for them, I have to give them credit. They like San Francisco, where I happen to be. Good for them. But they also are heavily, because his, where we are, Costa del Este and Panama Pacifico. Again, these are two very expensive areas. So, yeah, that's just the way it is. And we're really interested in the Colombians. And they're the largest group by far. What are their preferences? Well, Panama West, this is his list. Panama West, Caledonia, Bella Vista, San Francisco, Costa del Este, Brisas del Gulf, among others. I mean, some of these things you've heard of, some you may not have, but anyhow, this is a wide variety, folks. This covers a lot of housing that's middle class and the sort of stuff that you do. In other words, we see this very dramatic increase in number of Colombians coming in. It's being supported by the commentaries of others who are sometimes available to them statistics that I don't have, for example. But I am always guided by the statistics that I use because I know them. I know where they've come from and everything else. And mine clearly show this too. So we have a growing number of Colombians arriving. And they may be getting their money out by making investments, and that's one reason they're getting into broader neighborhoods. Or they may be moving themselves, it's possible, but they are also looking for a nice place to go. They have a lot of stuff to do. When you move a family, it just becomes much more, complicated. And remember, most of these people are not retirees. They may be, in their 40s and run a business or something of this sort. You have a variety of different circumstances. The important thing is that unlike the Americans that have been coming up, or down, I should say, and the Venezuelans who've been coming in, that this particular crowd is going to the neighborhoods that many of you are looking at too. This is your competition, in a sense. It's not really the truth, but the point of the fact is that it will have an impact. As long as it's the upper income neighborhoods and so forth, those are rentals. We've placed a number of people, Avenida Balboa, for example, and we found good opportunities elsewhere. But the point is, when it comes to purchases, that's a different story. And here we have the first sign of and they by far and away are the largest group, I might add. This is not even a close contest with Venezuelans and Americans. They are looking at properties that you may yourself be looking at if you're interested in purchasing. So what am I saying? I'm saying, hey, I can't ignore this. I really dislike talking about these things without really feeling confident that I have something to say that's worthwhile. Always knowing that things can change. In this world, things can change. But good news out of Colombia, I'm not expecting to hear soon. Given the trends that are going on there, they have to work out their problems. God help them, and they will eventually. You have to believe that. But for right now, for whatever reason, I think this particular trend is showing strength, greater strength. I think it's sort of obvious, don't you? A lot of people look at that and immediately make this assumption that it's going to go up to $5,000 a month or something of this sort. No. But it doesn't have to. This is exceptionally large numbers of Colombians coming in into markets that you are interested in, and they are going to, and people who have those to sell, they read these articles, they read this stuff, they actually see my stats too. Some of them are out there, looking at it right now. And so they beginning to learn this. As they learn this, people's attitude begins to change. And people who are selling in particular stop and say, well, now, just a minute. Maybe I should lift the price a little bit, or maybe at least, at the very least, I'm not going to negotiate way down. No, I'm going to, so on. It's an attitude change. And if they get that attitude, and it comes true, if we get more like this and the situation improves for the Colombian viewpoint, from the seller's viewpoint, not from the buyer's viewpoint, there's going to be a change in attitude for sure. And I've even seen a little bit here and there, but that's anecdotally. In my own building, they lowered the price last year because they weren't getting any interest. And I just went back to take a look at that. They still up, and they're back up to the earlier price, the one that I wouldn't pay, to tell you the truth. And they can still be negotiated down for sure, but they're going to start at a higher level. That's an indication. Okay. That's what I really wanted to get across to you today. And, this is not one of those situations where the guru of Panama, because there is none, and I'm not that one anyhow, that tells you jump in a plane and come on down here and grab one of these and blah, 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 blah. No. What you're hearing here is that if you're in a position where you expect to buy, it's the sooner you come down. If you could come down earlier, you would probably be in a little bit more, a better situation. But I don't know that for a fact, but this is what seems to be happening. So I'd suggest sooner is better than later. It's as simple as that. As far as renters are concerned, it won't have any direct impact on that immediately, but it will eventually. It will be a delayed response in all likelihood. As people begin to sell and people start talking about the market's coming back, owners who are renting these out for cash flow or whatever will think, hey, I'm going to raise my asking rent price, and I'm not going to negotiate as easily as I might have 3-6 months ago. It's just natural. Right? So I will continue to watch it. We'll get new stats from this particular statistic every month, usually around the middle of the month. So I should get September's around the middle of October, and we'll see what happens. And if I hear other information, I'll share it too. I'm just being conservative because that's who I am. But this is real, and this is the first time I've ever done it. The first time I've had a decent statistic shout at me. And so, what can I do? I got to share it. And I'm delighted to have had that opportunity. Thank you for putting up with this. And yeah, I've been working on the newsletter, and I've had to toss some sections out and rewrite others and so forth and add some new information, blah, blah, blah. So it's the usual hysterical hassle that I go through every time I try to do a newsletter and keep it under 30 pages. And we're working on it. It's going to happen. And, go below here and you will see a variety of links to different things, including signing up for the newsletter at Retirement Wave, which means you automatically get a notice of the newsletter coming down. You automatically get it. You don't have to do that. You can if you come here, if you're a subscriber here and you come back and you fairly regularly, then you'll eventually hear about it here, and so on. But I mean, it's there. There's the service we have in Panama Wave to try to help people in dealing with the purchasing or renting situation here. That's linked to down there. We've got a number of videos that including David, who many of you know, who does walking tours here, and then a couple others I'm sharing that are from folks, expats who have come down. They do this. You know that people in their 20s are doing this a lot now. Well, people in their 40s do it too. And these are two groups who've come down and visited Panama City and seen it through their eyes. They're very enthusiastic and so forth. They're very colorful. They're fun, but they're on target. I mean, they enjoyed themselves. It's going to be positive, but it's good. It shows you a lot of things that if I had the time and the focus and the equipment and everything else that they have, then I would maybe do something more like this. But I'm a nuts and bolts person, and I'm really very centered on getting things right, and not just cheering on the team, the home team, whenever it's possible. So that's where we're at. Take a look down below, see if there's anything that interests you there, and I will look forward to talking to you again soon.